Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be cutting a pattern by Steve Good, and I had something specific in mind that I was going to do. And of course, any plans that I make for a cut doesn't always go as planned. So here I am using a polar blade to do these cuts, and I quickly realized that this piece of wood is truly a piece of garbage. But I wanted to make it work because I hate wasting anything. So I ended up trying a smaller polar blade, and that didn't work. I ended up bending it. It was just a mess because it's truly because of the wood. It wasn't the blades and it wasn't me. So, okay, spiral blade it is. Now keep in mind, it's been quite some time since I used a spiral blade. And I was a little bit nervous about it, but I'm confident enough to use it for this pattern. And it took me, I would say, the first 3 or 4 letters to really get the swing of it again. The one thing I really like about a spiral blade is I can do a little bit of shaving on the sides if I make a mistake, or there's options to correct it while it's still at the scroll saw level. So the letter S went beautiful. After that, I had to get used to a few things. It was kind of funny. I was laughing at myself because I really didn't care one way or the other. And as this saying says, it is what it is. And it was perfect for me to have these few little challenges and struggles throughout this cutting to be doing this particular phrase. Some of you may or may not have noticed that this video is out late today, and I'm sorry about that for those that look forward to watching them. But what I got going on this week and next week, I'm having to make decisions on what's a priority. The town I live in is having a town-wide garage sale next Friday and Saturday. So I'm getting ready for that. That has nothing to do with my woodworking stuff. That has to do with all the junk I have laying around. And it's not junk, but anywho. So I'm doing that, plus I'm still organizing the shop. I'm starting to get everything moved out there. Everything meaning my Dremel, some other tools that I use in the house that are messy. I don't want to be doing that in the house anymore. So now I'm going to be sanding, whether it's the Dremel or the oscillating saw. I'll be using those out in the shop now, which is where they should be used. It's just a matter of me adjusting to doing something different. Having said that, I never even started this cut until 8 o'clock last night. I was able to get it done in less than an hour, which was awesome. And I did, as you'll see later in the video, I did a few other things this morning before I actually did the editing to get this ready to be uploaded. So there you go. That's why it's late. And again, I appreciate you all, and I appreciate your support. And thank you for being patient with me while I'm going through some adjustments and changes in my world. Back to the cutting. Right here, I really made a mess of that W, and I'm thinking to myself, why am I rushing to get this video done for tomorrow? And this particular pattern has been sitting in a drawer with the pattern glued on for the last 2 weeks. So I'm thinking, just do it, just get it done. It doesn't matter how it turns out. I do put a certain amount of pressure on myself to be consistent with this channel. And I have been doing after the cuts on Wednesday, which I did not do this past week. But that, for me, is not set in stone. So, but the Saturday one, I want to stay with it, and that's why I did this so late last night. I wasn't unhappy with the cut. I was actually quite surprised that before I even did any of the sanding, it looked pretty decent. I definitely want to keep going with the spiral blades, so I'm going to choose a pattern for Tuesday night's live that I can utilize the spiral blades effectively. I don't want to do it with just any pattern. I want to be able to make good cuts. But the pattern I'm thinking of, I may be using several different styles of blade. But here I had no regrets going to the spiral blade. It was definitely the route to take. While I had you know, I struggled with it because I hadn't used it in so long. There is a different feel to these blades. I was definitely very happy that I chose to do that to get through this cut. But once again, this blade was extremely dull by the time I got to the last letter, and I refused to put a new one in just for one more letter. So having taken off the pattern, I'm kind of really happy with how this looks. So I'm adding the aftercut into this video because it was such a quick cut. There was no reason why I couldn't show you what I did afterwards. I did move my Dremel out to the shop. Yay me. That was a step in the right direction. And I was able to clean up the things that bothered me the most. And some of the other things that were not quite right, it really didn't matter because unless you scrutinize it up close, you're not going to ever see it. I did speed this up quite a bit so as not to bore you with all the sanding. It's all the same old, same old. The oscillating sander definitely took off some of the film that was on this particular piece of wood. Again, this piece of wood was a piece of garbage. It was at the end, there was cracks, it was old. I just didn't care. I want to be able to utilize wood to the fullest, and for something like this, it truly did not matter. But the more I sanded, the more I really was starting to like this a lot. A lot of the things that I saw that were mistakes, so to speak, really became invisible even to me. So for the next part, I vacuumed up really good, and then I used the blow gun to really get a lot of the dust and everything out of the way for the next step. What I'm using here is tung oil, and I'm doing it in a bag because I don't want to have a lot of waste. I know there are suggestions that I can put the oil in a tray, but I don't have a large quantity to do so. So I figured the bag would work out well. And the reason I chose the bag is because what's left in it, I'm going to use for the table that I'm working on right now. That is a cabinet door that I sanded down to the raw wood, and it's still raw wood, and I want to seal that. So none of what I'm using here today gone to waste. And here you have it. If you made it this far into the video, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous week. God bless. Take care.